Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be doing another tier maker video with a bit of a twist this time, because I've got you guys on Instagram to send in your individual favourite players, and then I am going to rate them in Tiermaker. So it kind of takes the heat off me a little bit. So now I'm not deciding who are Sunderland legends and this, that and the other. It's basically just me rating your favourite Sunderland players, kind of, I suppose. But here are the tiers in this one. So in the top one we have legend. In the second one, we have quality. In the middle one, we have decent. And then we have never rated him. And then in the bottom one, I think we should keep it short and sweet. Shit. I think that would be appropriate for the last one. But before we get into it, a massive thank you to all you guys that did take part in the Instagram post that I did put up. And if you aren't yet following me on Instagram and you want to get involved in more things like this, then be sure to follow me, because I always like to try and get you guys involved in videos, particularly around this time of the year when, you know, there's nothing going on really football-wise. FIFA's down a little bit, so I like to try and experiment with different videos, and you guys seem to be really enjoying these ones. So yeah, follow us on Instagram, that'd be very nice if you want to get involved anyway. So remember as well, this is all just my opinion. If I put a player in legend that you think shit, then it's just because it's just personal to me. I might like a player for a reason you don't like them, etc, etc, etc. So originally I did say that I was only going to use I think about 10 to 15 of your guys' suggestions, but I think I've got about 20 odd here because you guys left so many. Of course, quite a few of them I had to leave out because otherwise it'd get ridiculous. I did get, I think, 100 plus messages for this video, but these are the ones I've kind of just crushed it down to. So let's get started. So first and foremost, probably one of the most commented players, and that is Jermaine Defoe. Now for me, Defoe, of course, for a good 2-3 years or a couple of seasons, he basically kept us in the Premier League single-handedly with his goals. And to be fair, he was played in a formation when he was playing for us where it just didn't suit a little man up top, particularly by himself. And he still managed to get bundles and bundles of goals, which for me put him in the bracket of between quality and legend. But then, of course, he did create the bond and have the bond with Bradley Lowry, which was just so heartwarming. And, you know, so that easily just cements his place in the legend status for me. So Jermaine Defoe, absolute legend. Now next up we have Kieran Richardson. Richardson could play as a left back or as a left winger. Originally he did start out his career as a left winger, and I think as years went by he went and dropped to a left back. He was a very, very good attacking fullback as well at that. And plus he did score that absolute screamer of a free kick against the Mags, which covers a 2-1 win at the Stadium of Light, and which kicked off the whole 6 in a row. And for me, that was just such a huge, huge moment in the sort of Derby history. So for me, Richardson cements his place. Is that right? Richardson cements his place in the legend category for me. He was a good player. I don't think he was absolutely amazing, but it was that free kick that for me in my head puts him in the legend bracket. So that's that. Now Jan Kirchhoff was mentioned as well. For me, Jan Kirchhoff, he literally had the world at his feet. The world was his oyster, but unfortunately injuries let him down. We got him from Bayern Munich for a pretty decent cheap fee as well. And you could see when he was fit, he could have easily gone on to any team in the world, in my opinion, and that's not me exaggerating. He was such a top-class holding midfielder. He could come forward. He was a big lad as well, but he was just made of glass, and he was injured all the time. So I'm going to stick him in quality because I do know, and we all know, how good a quality player he is. He didn't get the chance to try and even achieve legend status, but he did. Like I say, he ended up getting released. I think he had a little spell at Bolton where he got injured as well. I have no idea where he is now, but it is so unfortunate because he's such a talented player. Yeah, it's another one that's just been ruined by injuries. So for me, I'll stick him in quality because I do know how good he could have been. Now on to Darren Bent, which is a bit of a touchy subject because he left Sunderland on not the greatest of terms. He has tried to clarify recently, and I think it was a Roker Report interview or a podcast. He tried to clear up, you know, how he left to go to Villa and stuff like that, which I'm still not buying. I'm still taking everything he says with a pinch of salt. But, you know, and he also scored that goal that pretty much sent us down to League One when he was playing for Burton. But when he was playing for us, you know, we can't deny it. He was a top quality goal scorer. I can't put him, if he ended up leaving on a really good, you know, on a good note, then, and everything that went to follow with that, he could have maybe gone into legend status for me because he did score so many goals and he was a top-class goal scorer. We have to give him that, absolutely top class. But he left on a shit note. I think his attitude was a bit shitty after he did leave. So for me, I am going to put him in quality because, you know, I do thank him for the amount of goals he scored for us. Apologies if I'm a bit of a sweaty mess right now, by the way, guys. I've literally just come home from the gym. I probably should have showered beforehand. This is pretty disgusting. But anyway, we do have Lee Cattermole. Now, I'm really sort of flipping a coin 50-50 with this one because for the majority of his Sunderland career, I was a massive Lee Cattermole fanboy. Huge, absolutely massive. I remember there was times when, you know, I'd have a few berries in the pub and I'd be arguing his case to be in the England squad because I thought he was that good. There weren't really that many tenacious English midfielders around and someone who had a bit of quality about them as well. He's never been known for, you know, vision, range of passing, dribbling, shooting, scoring, etc. But he did all the simple and the basic things correctly, and he has so much heart, so much passion, and I absolutely loved that about Cats. I always did. It was only the season where we did get relegated from the Premier League, and then again in the season in the Championship where everyone seemed to fall out of love with him. He didn't seem like he was enjoying his football anymore. It didn't seem like he gave a shit, really. That's how it came across. Whether that was the case, I'm probably wrong because we do know how passionate he is. And this season, this season gone, he has proved that he does, you know, he loves the club. He'd do anything for the club. He'd run through brick walls for this club. So for me, I'm going to stick him in legend status, for me anyway. Other people probably say otherwise, but for me, Cats is a legend. And next up is Donald Love, which I'm pretty sure that must have been suggested as a joke, but if it's not, I do feel very, very sorry for the fan that is, or, you know, has Donald Love as their favourite ever Sunderland player, because he is absolute shit. He's absolutely shocking, so I'm not going to go into that anymore. I don't want to crush someone's heart who may idolise Donald Love, but he's absolute dog shit. Speaking of shit, Stephen Fletcher. Stephen Fletcher as well. I know, for him, what he represents when I think of Sunderland is Stephen Fletcher. He represents to me the start of a downfall, because we went through such a great series of strikers. We had Kenwyne Jones, Darren Bent, Asamoah Gyan, players like that, Jibril Cisse, and then those players seemed to fade away, and then in came the likes of Stephen Fletcher, Connor Wickham, who, it was just such a huge drop, a huge step back. It was such a huge, you know, a level below, and that's where it started. And for Stephen Fletcher, he had a decent goal scoring record with Wolves. He come in, he started off okay, and then I think he just had a bit of an attitude problem. Even when we were doing really shit in the league and performances were crap. I remember there was one time I can't remember, we went on a winless run or something like that and we were doing really, really badly, and then he went on social media and started posting and boasting about a new car we just bought or something like that. And for me, I just think his attitude was shit. So rather than saying shit, because I do think he had a bit of quality, I just never rated him. I didn't really rate him. I didn't. So in terms of, you know, is he a Sunderland legend, or was he quality, was he decent? I don't think he is. I never thought he was, really. I thought he was okay at best. So I never really rated him for Stephen Fletcher. Next up is Tommy Sorensen, my favourite Sunderland goalkeeper of all time. Of course, you could argue, obviously, Jim Montgomery as well, to be the best Sunderland goalkeeper. But the best Sunderland goalkeeper I'd ever, you know, seen, actually, physically, play for the lads, it was Tommy Sorensen, and I absolutely fell in love with him. So he is a legend. He was a top-class goalkeeper as well. Top-class attitude, a really, really good leader from the goalkeeping position as well. He was an absolute class act. And next up, speaking of the devil, is Jim Montgomery, and you can't put him anywhere but as a legend status, winning the FA Cup for Sunderland, and those amazing, amazing saves against Leeds as well in that FA Cup final, with just, you know, absolute class. Next up, we have Jan and Villa, which, for me, it's a difficult one. It's another sort of 50-50. I don't think he's a legend. I think in the season he was with us on loan, I think he was good. I don't think he was absolutely amazing. I don't, and I know a lot of people will probably slate me for that, because I don't think he was absolutely amazing. He was definitely a very, very good player. He was a brilliant sort of all-rounded midfielder. He could tackle, he could shoot. He was a box-to-box midfielder, and I think he was very good. He was definitely a step in the right direction for us at the time. And of course, I think the thing that definitely bumped up our sort of thought process with Jan and Villa was, of course, the heartbreaking way in which we found out that he wasn't going to come back to the club. He wanted to come back after his year-long loan, but he posted on social media that he's basically ringing Sunderland to finalise the deal, and they weren't picking up the phone, and I think we ended up going for Didier Ndong, which is just an absolute joke, because he was a very, very good player. So he misses out on legend status for me, but he was definitely quality. Next up, Jordan Pickford. I think he's class. I think he's an absolute class act. Particularly, obviously, he's from Sunderland. He's Sunderland through and through. He was absolutely fantastic for us. He's saved our asses countless times, and of course what he's done and gone on to do with England, achieved with England, you know, the penalty shootout, save and stuff like that, even though it's not necessarily just with Sunderland this, he has to go in legend. I think he's just absolutely class, I really do. Next up is Julio Walker, and I've said it before in different videos, he is up there with one of my favourite Sunderland players of all time. There's two players who I do rank as my sort of favourite Sunderland players of all time, Julio Walker being one of them, and I'm always bouncing between two different players, so I'm going to stick him straight away in legend status. He could play as left back, he could play as a left winger, and he was just such a class player. He could dribble, he could score, he could cross. He was just such a creative little magician as well. His left foot was just second to none. So yeah, he gets the legend position for me. And next up, my other favourite ever Sunderland player, Kevin Phillips, who for me, I just absolutely idolised him as a kid. He was the sort of top goal scorer around when I first started supporting Sunderland. And he was just an absolute joy to watch. The most natural goal scorer I've ever seen. He could just make something of nothing. Absolute class act. Loved the club as well. So he earns legend status. Next up, one of the biggest heartbreaks I've ever had at this club. I know a lot of people could probably relate to this because of the whole Jan and Via situation, but Lorik Cana, or Sana, or however you want to pronounce it, he comes to the club for just a year, but then he returned or went back into sort of Europe way to where to be closer to his sort of family and stuff like that. But for me, he could have so easily been a Sunderland legend. He was one of the best central midfielders I've ever seen at the club. He was so tenacious, he was a leader, he was passionate, a bit similar to Katz, but I actually think he was a little bit better in terms of quality, but unfortunately because he only had the year, I'm just going to stick him in quality. But for me, absolutely loved Lorik. He was absolutely amazing. Now the next one is really difficult for me. Thank you for whoever suggested this one. Quite a few people did actually. Luke O'Nien. Now on social media I've made it very clear that I absolutely love Luke O'Nien. I think he's an absolute class act. He's got the best attitude you need to be a footballer. He loves the club as well. He works himself into the ground for the club. Again, another player who'd run through brick walls for us. And yeah, and he is a very decent player. He's a very good player. Can I put him in quality? Because we've only really seen him, you know, in League One, really. For me, I know it sounds really harsh, but I'm going to have to put him in decent because, of course, I do rate him. I don't think he's shit, but I don't think he's top quality yet because he hasn't really been tested in that way. So for me, he's going to be the first person in decent. I'm probably going to get killed for that, but I do absolutely love Luke O'Nien, absolutely love him. Next up, Phil Bardsley. Now, straight away, you think about the goal he scored against United in the semi-final of the Carling Cup, or the League Cup, sorry, which eventually, of course, did go to the final, and we lost to Man City in a fantastic game there. But for me, he's probably one of the best right-backs we've had in the last decade, I would think. So for me, I'm going to put him in, I'll put him as a legend because of that goal against Manchester United. But he's definitely, like I say, I don't think we'll get a better right back than him in quite some time. He's just so solid, does all the simple stuff correctly. He's just such a no-nonsense right back. Nothing, you know, too extravagant going forward, although he did pop up with the odd goal, of course. But he was just such a hard-hitting tackler at right back. And yeah, he was just absolutely fantastic. Now, next up, who goes straight into the legend list, is Niall Quinn. Kevin Phillips' partner up top. You wouldn't have one without the other. One of the best partnerships the Premier League has ever seen together. It was always Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips up top. Quinny, he'd win the headers. It'd be knocked onto Kevin Phillips, bang, goal. It was just simple as that. The two up top with them two, they were just unstoppable on their day. And he, of course, Niall Quinn got himself goals as well. And he's just recently been put into the Hall of Fame for Sunderland, Niall Quinn. So we know all about him. We know all about them too. Just class acts and deserved of the legend status. Now, next up, we do have Steve Malbronk. I think it was supposed to be Steve Malbronk. It's cut off his head for some reason. Now, for me, probably one of the best quality players we've had at the club, like I say, over the last sort of decade. He was just so creative, agile. His dribbling skills were second to none. He had a ferocious effort as well, but he was just so technically gifted, this man. He could do absolutely anything with the ball. So I'm going to stick him in quality. I don't think he was a legend as such. I don't think he was a legend. I think he was absolutely quality, though. Top quality, very, very similar to this next man, Stéphane Sessegnon, who for me, when he first comes to the club, I don't think I've ever been so excited for a player. I really don't. It was one of those where every time he touched the ball, you just thought, something's going to happen here, because he was so good technically, so skillful. He scored goals, and we hadn't seen a player like that at the stadium like for some time. So for me, I'm going to stick him in quality. He doesn't get legend status. Apparently he does have a little bit of an attitude problem off the pitch, which may have been his downfall as the years went by. But on the pitch, he was an absolute joy to watch. Next up, Seb Larsson. Now we all know about Seb. He was a good servant to the club. Brilliant free kicks. He scored some very important goals. Do I think he's a legend? I don't think he's a legend in my eyes. I don't. I think he's a very good quality player. He has his qualities. I don't think I have a bad word to say about him, but just me personally, I don't see him as a legend. I can see why he would be someone else's favourite player though. So there we are. Seb Larsson, I'm going to put him in quality. Last but not least, we have Wes Brown, which is a bit of an odd one. For me, he came with a bit of a pedigree from Manchester United. He was already injury prone there. We brought him in, I think we brought him in at the same time as we brought in O'Shea and what have you. It was almost like we were running a Manchester United academy at the time, just like a reserve team for United. I think we brought Phil Bardsley in at the time, Wes Brown, obviously O'Shea, like I've just said, from United as well. But for me, he never really kicked on. He'd have the odd decent game and follow up with a shocker, or he'd get injured. So for me, I never really rated him. I won't say he's shit because I think that's unfair, but I never really rated him when he was at the club. But that's it, guys. That is everyone there. So what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. And if your player wasn't mentioned in there, let me know in the comments also. But if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It would be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.